as I speak all over the world, I keep getting the same question over and over and over again. The question is, when will my tokens be worth anything? When is this going to be? When is blockchain really going to take off? Why are companies using it? When are these startups, going to mature? I hear it's the same level of questions, and it comes back to trust. It really, really does. You're talking about decentralized intelligence at its highest level, right? Especially this emergence where you're taking data science and your machine learning, deep learning, and you're now mixing it with blockchain and cybersecurity and some of these other technologies as part of a digital transformation. And the way I always answer it, and the way I hear a lot of them like Sally Eves and Mike Condonzi and a lot of these people that do a lot of this, is it's about trust. And you noticed in the previous presentation, they also talked about trust. And there's a reason. If you think back, and the richest guy in the world now, Jeff Bezos, when he originally came up with the idea for Amazon and he put the website up, people were moderately impressed. Some people bought books, but it was kind of a novelty. And the reason why it was a novelty and it wasn't a real business and he was burning cash left and right is because nobody trusted. There was no trust. It was just easier to go down to Borders. Remember Borders? It's not here anymore. Walden's books, gone. It was just easier to go down there and pick up the book, right? And so it all came around trust. Now Amazon, is just piling cash every day. As we sit here in this conference, cash is flying their way. And they're using these technologies. They're using blockchain. They're using all the different types of machine learning. When you make your selection, you're getting machine learned. You are. And so when you think about that, it goes even after that. Even Facebook. When did Facebook really become popular? When did people start to use it? And Instagram would be very similar. When people trusted it. When there was trust. When the trust bond was built as part of this digital trust. And so when you look at this, people want to know, when's blockchain really going to take off? Well, it is, and there's a lot of companies made big investments, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the reality is, when the cryptocurrencies, the tokens, the blockchain companies that are being built, these blockchain platforms that are people now starting to utilize, it's when they're trusted. That's when it's going to happen. And you could to make it easier to kind of look at that, and I've seen variations of this done, but the digital trust equation, right? So when you look at this, there's trust. I didn't do very good on alignment, did I? But trust in this particular equation is going to be blockchain and machine learning. This could very much be machine learning and deep learning. This could be a variety of different things. You could swap out your technologies there. But those technologies that are going out there, going B2C, going B2B, doing these things, it requires trust. And so when you take a look at that equation and you start to think about how blockchain plays a piece in this, well, you have distributed transactions. When you look at blockchain, its whole idea of it is decentralized. So you decentralize the transactions. They're written into blocks. They're then passed around peer-to-peer across the network. And it's a cryptographic hash, and it's immutable. And we talked about that in the earlier presentation. Immutable, you hear it every day. If you're involved in this in any way, shape, or form, you cannot escape immutable. And that is because it's such an important piece to the trust equation. When you're thinking about it, that immutability is one of the things that builds the trust. It's the fact that nobody can go in there and change that because it's been shared across the network onto all the other nodes, and to make any change has to be agreed upon by everybody on the node. So if you were looking at it from a cybersecurity perspective, and you were thinking about, well, I'll do a man-in-the-middle attack, or I would do some kind of spoofing, or something like that, well, you're not going to be able to do that because it's getting written across all those nodes. You'd have to, at the same time, be able to affect all those nodes and the data on those nodes in exactly the same way without affecting the hash. And it would be very, very difficult. And in fact, many people, and you'll see a lot of this out there on the web, they talk about the really only big threat to blockchain, if done properly, is quantum computing. And so there's a lot of discussion out there about how blockchain works, what is the value and why it has, why it's part of the equation of trust. It's when you take that and then you mix it with machine intelligence that you start to get some really interesting piece. If you look at the fuel for a lot of these ICOs, the legit ICOs, there's a lot of them that aren't good, right? They're just, somebody threw a white paper up there, they have a minimally viable application, and they put it up there, but it was more of a bolt-on. It wasn't actually using blockchain in a way that made sense, right? That was part of a network that played off the peer-to-peer or the security aspects of blockchain in a way that would build an audience and create trust, and ultimately come out of there successful, because there's thousands of these companies out there. And then you think about that. So now with machine intelligence, you take all that data. If I get all this data in there, and I'm generating lots of data. So, and I'm going to, in the two use cases I'm going to talk about here shortly, you're going to see they generate a lot of data. If you have a legitimate blockchain type company, something with a legitimate set of applications to run that company, it's going to generate a tremendous amount of data. And as that data goes out there, and you pull that in there, you're going to need to be able to do something with that data and do something legitimate with that data. And a lot of these you see now are around identity. So we're back to the trust thing again. If you look at a lot of the companies out there that are using blockchain and machine learning together, it's about identity. And so perfect example of that might be is if I have a network of people that are on, and and we're passing it around, and we're writing transactions, right? So take a mortgage industry would be the perfect example. How many people out here have bought a house and 10 years ago, and then you bought one a year ago, or even something like that? The amount of documentation now is like this versus this. 20 years ago, it was like this. If you do an apartment, it's no longer a little bit here, it's like that. But now they're moving that all online. But you have to make sure that you're doing business with the right person, that you know that you can confirm that's their identity, that any transaction you have with them will do that identity. And cryptocurrency is another perfect example of that, because it acts almost identically. Every one of those cryptocurrencies out there has, if it's off Ethereum, it has a smart contract. And that smart contract says these are the things that are going to take place. There's triggers in those contracts that do that, but a lot of those are around identity and verifying the transaction was completed successfully, and how you might amend that transaction. So it's very interesting how you do that. All that data now that you've collected about the transactions, about the people on the network, now you can use machine learning. And you can have the different algorithms go against that data, and you can start to make all kinds of inferences. You can do all kinds of things from everything. I've seen everything from genetic algorithms, the ant equation, if a lot of you are familiar with that, a very famous Stanford experiment, to just basic machine learning, where it just goes through, make inferences, steps through again, makes another set of inferences, goes through, makes another set of inferences. It does that very well. And then you can get into the deep learning and the neural networks that are associated with that. But really what you're trying to do is come up with an informed decision. So you've collected that data. You now know that the identity of the person that you're using that data from is legitimate, so you're using legitimate data. Data integrity is still one of the biggest issues out in the corporate world. If you go into a lot of those CMDBs, you talk about all these different places where they store data, everybody will tell you that the data has usually got all kinds of problems with it if you talk to them on the side, right? They're not going to say it in public. But it's about making informed decisions. So through that data, through using that as part of this digital trust equation, you start to make those inferences, you step through that, and then you make informed decisions. The informed decisions, along with the blockchain, you're making smarter decisions. So if you believe that machine learning, and obviously this is a data science conference, so I'm pretty sure everybody does, and you believe that it has value and that it can get through there and help you make better decisions, more informed decisions, give you analytics that you can make good decisions on. Well, if you take that with blockchain and it happens faster, maybe even automated, then you're making smarter decisions. And you're doing it with greater confidence through more automation, right? Because that's why why a lot of us are here, is it's all part of the automation process. In the presentation previously, we were talking about automation through the supply chain and others, and that is a goal for a lot of companies. And if you talk to IBM, Microsoft and all them, part of their process is to create the automation, create the platform that supports the automation that brings these type of things together. Faster business processes. The supply chain piece, a lot of that was about a faster business process, so that the fruits didn't spoil, so that there wasn't issues with other things that go through the supply chain. And then probably the biggest motivator of all, talking to a lot of businesses, traveling around, I hear this all the time. What does this mean to us in the numbers? I mean, how's this going to help us run our business better? Are we going to make more money? Are our margins going to increase? Are we going to generate more revenue? Are we going to reach more customers? Are we going to build more loyalty? And the answer is, if they trust you. It's absolutely true. It's about trust. And if you go out there and you look at the really informed articles, white papers, and all that out there, all of them, and you look at the ICOs, if they're building a network of people, or if they're doing anything else and it doesn't enhance the trust of that network so that they can create more transactions, do better, or have better products and services, I would run away. Would absolutely run away, because it is ultimately going to be about trust. As automation, as AI and all of its iterations starts to automate this and goes through and making people make smarter decisions, more informed decisions, you're going to have some way to control it. And that's when you get into the decentralized intelligence. So ultimately, the goal for a lot of people that are doing AI and blockchain, it's about decentralized intelligence. Right? And if you think about decentralized intelligence, you can think about The Matrix. You can think about all these other movies that you've seen where it spreads out, where they can kill one node, but the intelligence survives. That's decentralized intelligence. It is indeed happening. There are companies working on this, and that's how it's going to happen, ultimately. You have to take AI and give it different types of transports, different ways to push that out, survive, identify, and trust. If you trust AI, if you trust the results from machine learning, if you trust the analytics that were driven out using data science, then you'll use them. You'll support the businesses that use them when you interact with them. But if you don't trust them, you will not. Then you think about it from that perspective, you're really trying to get, so if you're a business, and if you're going out there and you're looking for a job and you want to go to a business, what you really want to do is you want to go somewhere where they're providing an intelligent, data-driven experience. People talk about customer experience all the time. Well, customer experience is changing. Customer experience, when I was born and back in the 80s, was compared to now, is wildly different. And a lot of it's automated, it's electronic, it's fast, it's smart. It's not somebody standing in a store and a mall and me walking by and going and buy a pair of shoes. I'm now being driven by marketing, by AI, by data science that's helping these companies reach out. They know what you want, when you want, what your habits, your customs, all those pieces are, and they drive that. And so what they're trying to do is give you data so that you can make an intelligent decision, hopefully in their favor. So when you look at the technologies that make this up, the blockchain and machine intelligence and how they combine, with blockchain, it's a very decentralized application set. It's on an open data environment, right? Just by essence, it has to be. And then you look at machine intelligence, and it's centralized intelligence, and usually it's on a closed data platform, right? It's being run on a specific set of data for a specific set of reasons on a closed platform, not being passed around to a bunch of nodes, not being done in a decentralized way. So when you see what IBM, Microsoft, and you just go down the list, and I have a little piece of that in a moment, really what they're trying to do, their ultimate goal, and if you're a data science student and you want to go out and do some great things in the world, you want to help drive intelligent, data-driven experiences. That's an absolute fact. Every company out there that I speak with, that other speakers I talk to, ultimately, if you raise it up to its highest level of abstraction, that's what you're talking about. You're trying to drive for your customers, whether it's B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter, intelligent, data-driven experiences so that they will do business with you and more business with you. And Jeff Bezos is not the richest guy in the world now by default. It was smart, it was crafty, it was done over a long period of time, and it's only going to get more. He's doing IoT, blockchain, machine intelligence and stuff in ways other people don't stand a chance. So the startups out there that are doing this are going to have to leverage technologies like blockchain, like some of these other AI technologies, and find a way to do it even better, to push it even harder, push it even faster, make the automation quicker, build better, intelligent, data-driven experiences. There's a couple companies that I've had experience as an advisor, as a technical advisor, influencer, etc. And one of those is Boon Tech. And this is a perfect example of a small company using an ICO, using AI, and using blockchain to take on the giants in its space. So its competition is Fiverr, Upwork. A lot of people in here may have used Upwork in the past, even when it was Elance, et cetera, or Fiverr. You may use it now, right, for consulting. And what happens is that those are huge companies, but they charge really large transaction fees, very large ones. Their review systems are archaic. They're like the same ones that they had in the late 90s, early 2000s. If you look at they have a lot of identity theft. A lot of times they take your money and they run. They don't care you complain, because when they got on there in the first place, nobody verified who they really were, right? You have no idea who you're doing business with. And then there's a language barrier. So one of the really interesting things, and Boon Tech is a profitable company doing really great things. And if you haven't checked them out, you should. They're on the cusp. They're one of these companies, along with one I'm going to talk about in a moment, that are really pushing forward on taking on the giants. They're this new wave of companies using these technologies to drive out there and build better, intelligent, data-driven experiences so they can get more business and take on companies that are sitting there and may not be innovating as much. With Boon Tech, one of the things they do is they have machine learning, but they also use AI in other ways where they're also doing it where they have this automatic translation. So if somebody in China, they want to do something with them, they can actually get on there with them, talk through their system, and it will translate on the fly, roughly on the fly, translate so they can have a conversation about what they're consulting about. So if they're trying to make an image or a set of images for them, they're trying to do a logo for them, they're trying to do some shirts for them, whatever it may be, they do that. They also use the artificial intelligence along with blockchain to verify and protect the identity of those that are on there. And they even use tokens as a form of currency to do this. And with the tokens, you get discounts, you get loyalty rewards, and other things associated with it. So remember the card, and they still exist, the loyalty cards you carry around in your wallet or in your purse. Well, that's all becoming electronic too, right? Now it's in the form of a token, or will be in the form of a token. And so with that, you now have instant transactions without any central authority. So if I want to do business with you, and I'm asking you to create a set of images, and you're a designer for me, then I can speak to you in the language so that we communicate properly. Artificial intelligence and blockchain are going to verify the identity, so I know I'm doing business with somebody reputable. The review system also uses AI for that and verifies that. So now I have my trust. And last but not least, there's no transaction fees. Zero. There's no transaction fees. It's all made on the back end. So they've lowered my transaction fee. They give me loyalty rewards and cards, right? And the transaction happens faster, and I'm absolutely sure of the identity. The trust equation is complete. So when you're out there looking at ICOs, when you're looking at companies and trying to identify which ones you should do, or which ones you want to do business with if you're not into cryptocurrency. The answer should be the ones that, like the people before them, the Instagrams, Facebooks, Amazons, etc., that build the digital trust equation. Even though they didn't tell you they were doing that, that's exactly what they were doing. That's the ones that you should do business with. The Hayed platform, they're taking on an absolute huge group of people with huge pockets. So they're taking on Bloomberg, Thomson Reuters, and Seeking Alpha. They're creating research, and it's very interesting. Their machine learning is one of the best ones I've seen to date. It is absolutely phenomenal. So they actually go out and collect unique data much deeper than the three up top collect. And they compare things like, how did they do the guidance they gave for the last 6 or 7 quarters? How did they actually do against those quarters? And then the machine learning looks through the data and generates the graphs automatically generates the analytics so they can look at it, so they can make intelligent decisions, right? Intelligent data-driven decisions about that. And if you get a chance, you ought to take a look at it. It's really genius the way they've done this. And they're going in an industry that is 100% about data-driven decisions. They're just an older, more archaic way of doing it. But these companies right here, these three, they make money, they print money. Well, this is the way, and this company is very profitable, Hayed, and they're growing like crazy. And so, you know, this is one of those things where they look at it, and once again, they're using cryptocurrency, they're using blockchain, and they're using AI, right? And they're focused on the things where it's really valuable. Intelligent data-driven decisions, using the tokens in a way that drives the business, builds loyalty, allows for discounting, verifies identity, and builds trust, right? Because if you're going to go get reports about investment grades, so you know that one of the companies they cover is Amazon. So if you wanted to know what's going on with Amazon, they cover it very, very deeply. Much deeper than you're going to get with the other three. And they have these machine learning going and the AI going through there, and it's generating these analytics. And when you go in the report, you're getting much deeper information. So you're making a much more informed decision. So if you're out there buying 50,000 shares of Amazon, sounds expensive, you're going to want to make those decisions this way. You're going to want to be more informed. And if you're not, the people that are doing it, your competitors, your friends, maybe other family members, they may be doing this. Because ultimately, those three companies right there are going to have to do this. Right? People denied and denied. Oh, I don't really care about AI. I don't care about IoT. You know, internet's a fad. You can go back all the way through. Everybody always doubts the technology when they come out, and for good reason. Some of them don't make it, but some of them do. But this ability to create intelligent data-driven decisions, in this particular case with machine learning, with data science, with blockchain, is a perfect melding together to do these type of things. Everybody's doing it. These kind of companies right here, and they're all over the place. They are, and my wife's up here, she's the head of pricing worldwide for Oracle's cloud, and she'll tell you every one of them is making huge commitments, massive investments. Huge groups of people are moving out of other groups in these companies and going towards these in a way not seen in a long time. There's a reason why the cryptocurrencies are flying like they are now. Yeah, a lot of companies are going to fail. Yeah, a lot of drama is going to go. Some of these projects are going to fail, right? But ultimately, they will work through, they will revise, improvise, get to where, just like they are now. They will find a way to provide you a product or service that supports a more intelligent, data-driven decision. It's an absolute guarantee. It will happen. Very rarely does anybody in technology sit up there and say, absolutely, unless you are a data science. But this one is a guarantee. I've talked to a lot of these folks. I see them at the conferences. I'm getting ready to go to IBM Think and talk about blockchain and talk about IBM Watson. I'm on their data council. And I can tell you, I run a lot of stuff. I did the 1854 cholera outbreak last week. I ran all the data through IBM Watson. Amazing stuff. Stuff that you would have never, ever thought. And nothing you read in the history books, nothing you've seen in a white paper, nothing you've seen in any historical research shows what that does. It's just taking all that data that existed back then, putting it into a digital format, and then running it through these. Amazing thing. So now, think about that. If we can go back and do the 1854 cholera outbreak, which was a very bad thing, and you can now do that with the data about our everyday life, about coming here. Imagine that. What if they could run all the data on the students that attend here? And I'm sure they probably do. You know what to charge. You know when to charge. What's the best time to collect the money. How to set up the parking, hopefully closer to the buildings. And things like that. I really, really was honored to speak today. And I thank you for your time and attention.